Good morning, everybody, and welcome back for Pre-K Art Day here at the Living Arts and Science Center. We have a really awesome story for you today. It's called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs by Judi Barrett. You may have heard of it before. It's pretty popular, so let's head over to our story spot and we'll give it a read. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs by Judi Barrett and drawn by Ron Barrett. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we each could eat, and Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air headed towards the kitchen ceiling and landed right on Henry. After we realized that the flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay the tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees and gardens around them, a schoolhouse, about 300 people, and some assorted cats and dogs. But there was no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain, it never snowed snow, and it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas. And sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way, they would always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, Frankfurters already in their rolls blew in from the northwest at about 5 miles an hour. There were mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops becoming heavy at times with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by gradual clearing, with a wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's flower gardens. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. Spaghetti ties up town. Record-breaking pasta fall causes chaos. One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. The next day there was only broccoli, all overcooked. And the next day there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Another day there was pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye bread and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged, and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of the weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and the day ended with a stomachache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind accompanied by an even worse tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job was just too big. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up, and there was no more school for the children. So, a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. It was a matter of survival. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread sandwich style with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them, and set sail on their rafts for a new land. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town, which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in this new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at the supermarket. They found it odd that the food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs, and no one ever got hit by a hamburger again. And nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his goodnight kiss. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. The end. I love that story. It is so silly. I love the drawings in it especially. There were so many cool pictures in that book. I really like the one where the guy is drinking soup out of his umbrella. So speaking of umbrellas, let's head over to our craft table and make a craft about the story that we just heard. All right, so today I am going to be showing you guys how to draw your very own umbrella so that if you were ever stuck in the town of Chew and Swallow, you'd be protected from all those hamburger storms. So what you're going to need for today's craft, you're going to need some paper, you're going to need some markers, and also some stickers if you want. If you don't have any, that's okay. We're just going to be using those for some decorating. So to start off, you're going to want to pick out a few colors that you really love. Red and green are two of my favorite colors, so I picked out those two, and then you're also going to need a black marker. So to start out, we want to draw our umbrella really big so that we have lots of room for decorating and adding patterns and colors and stickers and fun things. So we're going to kind of pretend like we're drawing a rainbow on the very, very top part of our page. So it's going to go just like this. Big rainbow shape all the way across the top of our page. You see how I went really close to both edges of the paper here? That's kind of what you're going for. You want to make it nice and big. Now, we're going to make a dot right up here at the top of our rainbow, right in the middle. And we're going to draw a line straight down from our dot, just like that. Then we're going to draw another line that comes out this way and goes right in between those two sides. Another one coming out this way. So you should end up with something that looks kind of like this. Then we're going to draw what I'm going to call little mini rainbows in between to connect our dots. So I'm going to draw a mini rainbow from that dot to that dot. See how my line kind of jumps from one end to the other. Do another one here. Another mini rainbow. And another mini rainbow, and another one. All right, so now we've got kind of the top of our umbrella drawn. We need to give it a handle so that we can hold on. So I kind of like to draw my handles sort of like the letter J. So you could make it hook either way. It doesn't matter. I think I'm going to make mine hook like this. So you give it just a little bit of a curve at the end. And now we've got the shape of our umbrella ready to go. So now we're going to do some decorating. We're going to make our umbrella fun. So this is where we get to use those colors that we picked out. Like I said, I picked red and green because those are two colors that I really love. And I think I'm going to start with my red. And the first thing I want to do is I want to give my umbrella a nice handle. Maybe pretend like it's nice and soft so that if I hold on to it, my fingers won't get tired. So I'm going to use my red and kind of decorate my handle just a little bit. All right. Now I'm going to come back up here to the top and I'm going to start doing some patterns. So if you've never learned about patterns before, patterns are when we make a shape that repeats. So we know about shapes like circles, triangles, all those kinds of things. So maybe on this one, I'll do a pattern with circles. So I'm going to make circles that just keep repeating all in this section of my umbrella. And you could pick a different shape if you wanted to, or you could just draw whatever you want. You know, some umbrellas have all kinds of different decorations. So it really doesn't matter, whatever you want to put on it. Now, one thing I will say is you want to do your decorating with marker first before you go back in and add your stickers. So if you have some stickers at home that you want to use to decorate your umbrella, wait to do those until after you've done all your coloring, okay? All right, so I've got one section of my umbrella decorated, and I think I'm going to make a pattern with my colors too. So instead of doing my whole umbrella with red, I'm going to do red in this section, then green in this section, then red, then green. Red, green, red, green. That way I have another pattern happening too with my colors. So let's see, what kind of shape should I do for my green? I think maybe for my green I'll do some triangles. All right, and now I'm gonna switch back to my red, and I think I'm gonna do some strips for my next pattern. All right, and now I'm gonna switch back to my green for my last section. And let's see, what could I do for this last bit? I think I'm gonna do some squiggly lines. Okay, my umbrella's looking pretty good. Now, if I had any stickers, I don't have any here with me at home, this would be the time for me to add them. So I might add some stickers on the top of my umbrella, or maybe just to decorate my background. Now, one thing you can do if you want to keep working on your umbrella picture is we could add some raindrops up top, or you could add some food, just like from our story. So let's say maybe you want to draw some little pieces of pizza falling from the sky. I think that would be fun. I can show you how to draw those. Those are fun because they're really easy, and we can use just a red marker and a black marker. So it's kind of like drawing triangles, which we already did. But maybe you want to have it raining something other than pizza in your drawing. I think that would be great too. You could make it rain hamburgers or ice cream cones or whatever you wanted. Anything would be cool. And if you do, please share it with us on Facebook or on Instagram. We would love to see your creations. All right, let me color in my pizza with my red marker. And then I think I'm ready to sign my piece of art. Yep. So for my very last step, I'm gonna write my name down here. And my umbrella is all done. I hope you guys had fun today with our craft and with our story. If you liked this activity and you'd like to see more art and science things that you could do at home, check out our Facebook, Instagram, or our website, lasclax.org. We'll see you next week, and I hope you have a great rest of your holiday season. Bye!